Welcome to the Best You podcast, where we explore the journey of inner peace, harmony, and joy that comes from living authentically. Every week, we will dive into transformative conversations that describe both the way you can create behavioral change for yourself and how to create the conditions that promote peace, harmony, and joy around you. Whether you're seeking balance, deeper relationships, or a spark of inspiration, you're in the right place.
All right, welcome back to the Best You. And we have been talking about peace, harmony, and joy. And again, we believe, especially with our organization, the Peace, Harmony, and Joy Alliance, that we truly can have peace on earth one day and hopefully in the foreseeable future. But we also believe if we're going to have it, it starts with each of us. We need to have peace within ourselves and really peace, harmony, and joy within ourselves. And when we do, it's amazing, this ripple effect, the impact we can have on people close to us and ultimately our communities and the world. And so what we want to do today is to build on our last podcast, which was peace within. If you're going to have peace on earth, it starts with peace within. That is the foundation for all of this. And there's so many ways to have peace within yourself. In our last podcast, if you haven't listened to it, we encourage you to. We did this experiment or exercise that showed you how powerful your mind was, and within like 120 seconds, you were going from feeling terrible to feeling great. Nothing had happened other than we had planted some thoughts in your mind. And we were just trying to get you to appreciate and understand that your mind, the anxiety and stress that you have is kind of self-created, and that you can literally create whatever thoughts and whatever feelings that you want. And so the other thing we did touch on was, how do you feel peace when you're feeling anxiety, feeling stress from all the different things going on in your life? How do you calm down? And in the last podcast, we talked a little bit about God and the universe. If you trust those things, then they can really help reduce your stress. And again, the book is Less Stress, More Joy. It's not no stress, but if you can reduce it even 1%, we think you're in a good place. But it's amazing when you do these things, how you can significantly reduce your stress and have more peace. We also talked about nature. Nature is such a calming force. And there's just so many different ways that nature can help make you feel better. And today we're going to talk to you about many more ways. Again, in the book Less Stress, More Joy, we have a whole bunch of tips and tricks and ways that we have found that people have been able to significantly reduce their stress and significantly increase their peace. And today we're going to talk about some more of them. So before we get started, Sanna, anything you want to say?
Well, that was a great summary from where we left off with this conversation last time, Scott. And just a couple of things I want to add. I mean, first of all, the book is great. So please make sure to get your copy of the book and buy copies for your loved ones and important others in your life. And to also remind folks that we have resources on the healingedu.org platform that also help us promote peace, harmony, and joy in our lives and with others. And we even have a course called 6 Layers Towards Joy. The only other thing I would add is around the exercises and the practices you shared, Scott, is that these are a way to create better habits. And the more you do it, the more easy it is to create that peace, harmony, and joy within, because it becomes more your default neural pathway. In other words, it becomes your habit instead of the old one that might make you feel stressed. So know that it takes practice and that, of course, it's worthwhile. Look, you have the best possible outcome if you put the effort in.
Yeah, that's well said, son. And I think one of the things that we're learning about this whole journey that we're on, we call it the joyful journey, is that every single person that we come in contact with and work with on this is finding tremendous benefit. And I think a lot of people, when we start working with them, don't feel like it's possible. They don't feel like, they just feel like they're sad people or anxiety-ridden people or unhappy people. And they really don't know that they have the ability to change the way they feel, the way they experience life. And, what I'd like to even put out there is it's in all of us, and it's up to us to awaken it. And for whatever reason, It's beyond me. Why don't they teach us to us in school? I don't know. Why don't most parents know about this? I don't know. Why don't the news talk about it? I don't know. For whatever reason, this is not stuff that we learn when we're young. And by the way, when you learn things when you're young, that's the best time to learn them because it becomes more natural for the rest of your life. As you get older, it's harder, but it can be done. And to Sana's point, if you are aware of these things and you work on them, you will be amazed of the positive impact that it has on your life.
And by the way, let's change all of those facts, Scott, so that they are taught and role modeled. We just
Yes,
don't know better. And so part of our life's work is to help change that.
well said. And that is truly one of the biggest missions of the Peace, Harmony, and Joy Alliance to help people, but truly change the way society helps others. And I think it is going to happen in the future. So thanks for saying those good words. All right, so let's share some other ways you can have peace. How can you reduce your stress and anxiety? How can you get this foundation so you can have more peace, harmony, and joy within yourself and with others? So the next one we're going to do is gratitude. So gratitude's an interesting word. Some people like, be thankful for everything or just appreciate things. To some extent, it's that simple, but it actually, it's interesting. You can say thank you to everybody who does things for you, but are you really thinking about what you're saying? Are you just being nice and pleasant? If you say you appreciate something, or you're grateful for something, are you really thinking about like what you appreciate or what you're grateful for? I know people who pray or say grace or say thank you at mealtime, and I think it's a great way to do the meal. Um, by the way, I don't say it out loud, but I do oftentimes think it. The thing about it is when you say it, or when you don't say it, and when you should say it, what are you actually thinking? And it's amazing when you actually think about it. So let's take food. Let's take a meal for an example. Think about when you have your meal. Say you have a salad. Say you have lettuce and tomato and cucumber and you know a whole bunch of other things. Think about where each of those came from. I mean, for you to have that salad, somebody had to plant the seeds for the cucumbers, for the lettuce, for the tomatoes, for each of those things in there. Somebody had to water them. Somebody had to maybe fertilize them. So, I mean, all that stuff. Somebody had to pick them. And maybe it was a truck that rode around picking them, but someone had to drive that truck that did it. But somehow that stuff had to get gathered. By the way, for it to get gathered, somebody, we'll call it the universe, had to put sun on them, and rain on them. So all these things had to magically make these things appear, and then someone had to gather them. Guess what? Someone had to put them into a truck and take them somewhere, and probably took them to a place where they sorted them, cleaned them, put them into containers. Someone maybe took another truck and put them into a warehouse. Someone then probably took them in another truck and took them to a store. Someone then took them out. The store took them out of boxes and put them on shelves. Somehow you got your hands on them. And again, it may not even been you who got them off the shelves. Somebody at a restaurant may have sent someone out to buy all these things. I mean, I'm just trying to get you to appreciate all the things that had to happen for you to have your salad. It's almost a miracle that you have a salad. But when you think about it that way, I think, as opposed to just saying thank you for the food, you start to think about really what went into it. It is like a miracle, and it's very easy to begin to feel gratitude and feel grateful. Sana, I'm gonna go to you. What are your thoughts on gratitude?
Well, I feel like that was a beautiful dissection of so much of what we take for granted. And by really spelling out all of the pieces of it and the way it is such a miracle, even our lives itself is such a miracle that we're here in this day and age. And regardless of what we might think of what's happening in the world, it is a miracle that we're here, that we can have homes with the lights. And I can talk to Scott, who's 500 miles away in real time, and talk to all of you. Like everything in our life is so miraculous. And I have a question, Scott. What about when things are feeling hard? Should we be looking for gratitude then too?
Well, that's a great point, and that is actually, I think, the time when gratitude can play an important role in your life. So I think it's easy to feel gratitude and feel good, and even have these conversations like I'm having you today, because we're feeling good, and now it's just maybe we're feeling better. But the goal here, really, today's conversation is how do we find peace when times are tough? And I think you know, again, you could be in a situation with your boss at work. You could be, have a relationship issue with someone close to you. You could be, again, worrying about the cost of things going up. I mean, there's all these things. People can be saying things on social media. How do you find peace? How do you find calm? How do you find this foundation so you can start to have a clear mind and find harmony and joy in your life? And I think gratitude can play an amazing role. You know, let's take some big stuff. I talked about food earlier, and I think you can do that exercise, by the way, and I think it will definitely help you find some calm. But you know, you have a boss who's just told you you've lost your job. We've had to surplus you. We've had to cut costs. How are you going to find peace and calm in that? Well, all I can say is, first off, think about, do you have your health? Are you a healthy person? Do think about all the different things that could make you unhealthy. Think about all the people that have cancer, that have just all the different health issues that are going on. I mean, so do you have your health? Does your family have their health? I mean, if you have your health and your family has their health, that is such a gift. And it's amazing how complicated our bodies are. If you want to just think about them, even like from the food example I just gave you, think about all the things inside your body that have to work properly. So, I think if you are appreciative of your health and your family's health and your friends' health, and then you even think about how complicated your body is, the thousands of things that are inside your body that are all working, it's, me personally, when I have those types of thoughts, it immediately brings me calm. I mean, it's just like, hey, I'm alive. Hey, I'm in good health. And then you can take it further. All right, I lost my job. There's lots of things I can do. I'm a smart person. I'm a nice person. Um, I got a lot of talents. Because when you're calm, then the harmony can start to kick in, and then you can start to figure things out. But I think the big thing is to find the way to calm down. And by the way, it's not just your health, but do you have some money in the bank? Be thankful for that. So you're thankful for your health. You're thankful you got some money in the bank. Do you have friends? Yes. Do you have again, do you have the talents? I mean, when you start to think about these things, I think it'll reduce your stress some. It may reduce your stress a lot. Hopefully, it will. But the fact of the matter is, you have a lot to be grateful for, and it will almost guaranteed make you feel at least somewhat better, if not a ton better. Sana, your thoughts on this?
Yeah, so you're saying that it's really on a spectrum or continuum, like how how our blessings on one hand and our challenges on another, and that most of us can always find the blessing or have blessings that we can find. And I remember once, Scott, when I just felt like I was really in the most dire circumstance of my life. Within, I don't know, a day or two of each other, I had gotten two very concerning health, not a diagnosis, but a scare. And both of them could have been like cancer. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna die or I'm gonna die. And I remember taking your advice. I mean, well, I did what you suggested in the last video. Is I was sitting outside and I was among the trees and I got myself really calm and quiet. And it felt like my world was potentially about to end. Thankfully it didn't, obviously, because I'm still here. But I was able to just be in that very present moment. And even when it felt like there was nothing good potentially in my life, potentially going forward, that I had that present moment. And the world could be crashing, but there I was. There I was. I wasn't bleeding. I didn't have any broken bones. And I was okay right then. And hopefully that's not going to be the case for most people where literally you're having to live moment to moment. But if and when that is the case, that we always have that moment where we are still breathing the air and we can still look up at the sky, we could still feel our heartbeat, we can still take that next breath. And because it is such a miracle to be here, that is a gift too, even when all else fails.
Yeah. And I like the word moment, because who knows how many more moments any of us have. I mean, when you
Right.
really think about it, I mean, none of us are guaranteed any moments in the future. So be in the moment and just be appreciative. If you've got your health, you got your family's health, your friends in that moment. That is something to be very grateful for. So I appreciate you sharing that, Sana. You know, another way to have calm. Let's just talk about, again. You've got let's get back to the job thing. Just the example. You lost your job. You're feeling terrible. Family and friends. It's amazing what relationships can do to help you. If you're by yourself and you just keep thinking over and over again, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, how could this happen? Oh my God, what am I going to do? How am I going to get through this? I mean, it's amazing how your head by itself can really do tricks on you. Um, but when you have people you can talk to, it's amazing how they can help you. They can give you ideas. They can introduce you to people. They can point things out. It's amazing how relationships can just have this dramatic effect on the way you feel. And you know, I will just say this. I think a lot of people think, they've got friends on Facebook and they got, friends on, LinkedIn, and, they got a big friend group. I think that it's nice to have those connections. Strongly encourage you to take the time to actually have face to face, hopefully in person, but if not in person, virtually like Son and I are doing today. But have face to face conversations with people at a minimum over the phone. But it's amazing how the oral conversation is how you actually develop a strong relationship. Texting, emailing, that it's a nice way to stay in touch. But if you truly want to have someone you can go to when you're in a stressful situation, encourage you to invest the time in building that relationship with real oral conversation. And again, face to face is even better, because it's amazing how people might say something, but the face says so much more. And and it's just such a powerful way to approach life when you have these relationships. Sana, anything you'd like to add?
Just such powerful advice, and also can address what so many of us, maybe up to 60% of people, are feeling, which is loneliness. That can also just make everything feel just so much more dire. So, such a great reminder, Scott. And thanks for encouraging us to get face to face with each other.
Yeah, it's what can I say? It's easier said than done. I think a lot of us are busy, and and we don't invest the time, and we don't know that it's necessary. But I'll just simply say, to me, it's no different than exercise. It's no different than eating right, or sleeping right. I mean, I truly believe that if you don't do those things, it'll have a negative impact on your health. I also believe if you don't take the time to work on your friendships and your family relationships, it will have an impact on how you feel too. So the other thing related to this is something we talk about in the book is the concept of forgiving. Uh, so many people have people in their lives that have done them wrong, that have hurt them, that have um, really just done something that was inappropriate. And the question is, are you going to hold that in? Are you gonna hold that against them? Are you going to let that hurt or even ruin the relationship? Again, we're talking about, you might need that relationship in the future, or are you going to forgive? And some people will say that no, I'm not going to forgive. This person was mean. This person did me wrong, and they don't deserve to be forgiven. And in fact, they deserve to be taught a lesson. And so there are people who are spending a lot of time. How do I teach this person a lesson, or how do I get back at them? An eye for an eye type of thing. So I will just say they're using up a lot of energy there. But the other thing is they're just holding back on healing that relationship because they won't forgive. They might even be, I'll be nice to the person, but they're inside, they're just, I don't forgive that person. And I will just simply say this, that one of the things that I've learned in life is holding a grudge actually takes a ton more energy than forgiving. That's the first thing. I mean, holding a grudge, holding on to something that someone has done to you is like carrying a weight on your back. I mean, it's heavy and it takes effort, it takes work, and it's going to cause you some stress, guaranteed, because it just comes with that territory. Um, the act of forgiving is literally like taking a weight off your shoulders. And it's also, by the way, recognizing that we're all human, we're not perfect. And this person that did something to you may or may not have done it on purpose. But whether they did it on purpose or not, maybe they have an issue. Maybe they have a character flaw. The point is that they're human, and maybe you can help them with that character flaw. Maybe you can help them in a nice way to grow as a person. I think the bottom line is when we recognize that we're all human beings on this planet, we all are here, not by accident, but for a good reason. And we all have our habits and our personalities because of where we grew up and how we were taught things. We're going to all make mistakes. And so if we can forgive people for their mistakes, recognize them as humans that all are entitled to being appreciated and helped, I think you will be amazed of how much it will make you feel better just by forgiving. But even better, when you really truly need someone to talk to, you will have position yourself for a great support relationship. So, Son, anything you like to add on that?
Yeah, that's really a strong topic and an important point. And I have several thoughts on it. And thank you for bringing it up. First of all, I guess I would say that forgiving and agreeing to stay in a relationship with somebody are two different things. Because there are also people who genuinely can be harmful um, to your health and well being. For example, if they just continue to be abusive, no matter what you do, that sometimes it is better to forgive and move on and draw good boundaries. Sometimes good boundaries are what's really called for. It just very much depends on the situation. And the other thing I want to say is, and I'm no expert on forgiveness, although I'm pretty good at it. It's high in my strengths list. And the one thing that really helped me was to read this book called How Good Do You Have to Be? It's written by a Rabbi Kushner, who um, makes the case that only God is perfect, and if we think somebody else has to be perfect or we can't forgive them, then we're holding them to an impossible standard, which is unfair because only God is perfect. And when I understood this from the book, I realized it wasn't my mom I needed to forgive, but it was myself because I was holding myself to this ridiculous standard and I was holding other people to an impossible standard and creating so much pain and heartache in our life. And I was blaming her, but it was really me um, who, well, we were both contributing. I don't want to say it was just me. Like we were both contributing to it, but I had my own role in it that I wasn't owning. And it also helped me forgive myself and to let go of that need to be perfect in myself and for those around me. And for me, that was very, very healing. And yeah, so I love the concept of forgiveness. I feel it's very important. And I would also just say maybe some of us might be looking at the wrong person who needs the forgiveness that we might need to forgive ourselves in some cases.
Huge thought. And I am so happy you said that because I think there's so many people have people in their lives, especially family members, that they just they hold grudges or they really they just have these thoughts about this person like really has hurt them and really even messed up their lives. And if we remind ourselves, our parents, there wasn't a parents' school. Our parents learned from their parents, and how much were they paying attention? but I think in many, if not most cases, our parents are doing the best they can with the limited knowledge they have. And there's all these situations and all these things that come up. And all I can say is parents are human beings. And none of us are perfect, but if we can truly just recognize that they're human and that they tried their best, and maybe there were times they weren't, it doesn't look like they were trying, but maybe that was the best they could do at that time.
Yeah.
But just give them that. I think you'll be amazed how you can forgive and heal the relationship. And but it starts with you. And I'm so happy you said that. And I think this has been a great conversation. There's so much more we can talk about. We want to talk about. We're going to talk about how to have peace, harmony, and joy in your life with others, and ultimately to have this really great world that we all dream of. And we just really so much want you to have this wonderful life, this joyful journey, and we look forward to our next conversation.
Yes, absolutely. And just a final thought, we do have a course at Healing EDU on forgiveness, and coming up soon, self-forgiveness. So a little something for everybody. Thanks for listening, and thanks for leading a great topic, Scott.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you for tuning in to the Best You podcast. We hope today's conversation sparked some new ways for you to cultivate your inner peace, connect meaningfully with others, and embrace the joy of living in harmony. Remember, being the best version of yourself isn't a destination. It's a daily practice of growth, reflection, and kindness to yourself and those around you. If you enjoyed today's episode, we'd love it for you to subscribe, share it with somebody who'd benefit, and leave a review to help us spread the message of peace and joy. Stay connected, stay inspired, and we'll see you next time on The Best You.